Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I'm Chase Earl, joined by Jake Gordon and Alex Ward. All the news has been surrounding the Falcons in the coming days, but we did get a kind of a bomb from the Braves a couple of days ago in demoting Ian Anderson and Bryce Elder. They are now have been optioned to AAA Gwinnett, which means unless there's some reason they did this, I don't see any reason why the Braves would do this, besides the fact that they're not going to be on the opening day roster. The Anderson news doesn't shock me at all. The guy's velocity's down. I know we were all hoping for a bounce back campaign. His control's been awful. The slider hasn't moved me one bit. The third offering is still a huge question mark for him. I think as far as he goes, it's time to start questioning whether we've seen, and I would even say, I think we've seen the best of him in Atlanta. I don't even know if there is a real world where I don't know if he ever pitches for the Braves again, which is, I never would have expected to say 18 months ago. But I think it's a real possibility. Bryce Elder, on the other hand, not nearly as worried about. I'm surprised they cut ties with him so soon and removed him from the conversation. But he'll be a piece of this organization. I expect to see him in Atlanta at some point. But I think the bigger story in all of this is Jared Shuster and Dylan Dodd. Those two guys have given up one run over basically 18 innings. They've struck out like 20. They look really like pieces that could be a part of this team in the long term, especially Shuster, who was a first-round pick.
Yeah, and, we talk about Ian Anderson. You say we may have seen the best of him. Well, thankfully, the best of him got the Braves a championship, so it doesn't really have that big of an impact. But, I'm rooting for the guy. He seems like a really good guy. Like I said, we've seen him dominate before, especially in the playoffs, and so it would be nice to have him back. But we've seen the Braves do this before. They're going to push the young guys, and they're not going to let somebody sit there and flounder at the major league level. They're going to see what these young guys got, like they did it with Strider. They did it with Harris. And if these young guys got it, they're going to stay.
Yeah, the thing is, they're not young. They're the same age as Bryce Elder and Ian Anderson. They're all within about a year of each other. So it's not like we're asking, some 19-year-old to come up and be the fifth starter. And I agree with you. If you're ready, you're ready. Just like with Michael Harris, there's no reason to just sit on it. And that's Anthopoulos has never been afraid to go to a younger guy, unproven guys. And with Kyle Wright, kind of behind the eight ball, the cortisone shot to his shoulder, nothing to worry about, but he's just not on schedule. Probably going to miss he is going to miss the first series. That's already been confirmed. Dodd and Shuster are, probably going to be on the opening day roster, both of them.
Yeah, Shuster really excites me because we're talking about a guy who was a 2020 first-round draft pick in the same draft as Spencer Strider and the same draft as Bryce Elder. So there's upside there. And one thing that stood out to me over his last start is his fastball. He's typically sat, 92, 93, which from the left side, projectability, he's, maybe a back-end starter. But I don't know if the gun was hot, but it was on television, and he was throwing 95, 96. If he's throwing 95, 96 from the left side, that projectability now moves him up to maybe a top-end guy, and he's pitched like a top-end guy. Now, 8.2 innings is a minuscule sample size. I don't overreact to spring training, but the Braves are not – if I'm not going to overreact, the Braves certainly are. I mean, they're basically penciling this guy into the opening day roster with this move, and who knows? The upside could be a lot bigger than we anticipated maybe a year ago. I mean, he had a really good year in AAA, first-round pick. I'm really excited to see with this guy, so – the Braves have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to their starting pitching depth, and this is just an example of it. I mean, you would have never thought before the start of the season that Shuster would be in the opening day rotation. Now, him or Dodd, they're in. They made it.
Well, the thing is with Shuster coming out of school was control was a big issue. He was consistently over 5 walks per 9, and last year it was at 2.5. And so it seems that he's found something with his control as well, and that's a testament to their scouting and Dana Brown, who we will miss dearly. But yeah, I mean, he comes out and they saw him in the Cape Cod League and he's striking out 12 guys per 9 and he's not walking as many guys. And they're saying, okay, we might have something here. So, that 14.7 K per 9 might have come down a little bit, but the walks are also coming down too. And they really seem to rein him in. And he's a talented pitcher. And I think he's a guy that's definitely worth being excited about.
Yeah, to that point, I mean, who's better at assessing their own talent than the Atlanta Braves? They're 1 or 2. In Major League Baseball. So if they say these guys are ready, don't listen to Joe from Twitter or Facebook who says yada, yada, yada. They're young and they're ready, but who cares? I mean, We've seen it time and time again with people like Charlie Morton leading these younger guys through the rotation. Kyle Wright, young, struggled. Now he's, probably our number 3. So it's not crazy to think that Dodd and Shuster can't be staples of the rotation for the future. It's not crazy to think both of them can't be, not just Dodd.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about just the 2020 draft. Let's take a look back and let's talk about hypotheticals. If Shuster turns out to be a piece of this rotation, they only had 4 picks in that 5-round draft because it was the COVID draft. We're talking about Strider, who's a Cy Young candidate already in his first full year, second full year, whatever you want to call it. Elder, who we think probably has a place in Atlanta in the future. And Jared Shuster, who is impressing enough to earn a spot on the opening day roster a few years after he was drafted. And you still have Jesse Franklin, who he's battled some injuries, but I still like his potential. That might be the best first 4 picks of a draft I think I've ever seen.
It's definitely going to be up there.
Yeah, with baseball, that hit rate is unprecedented. I mean, I know there's not as many picks, so it's easier to hit on them. But still, I mean, the MLB draft is such a crapshoot.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about Dodd. I mean, we're talking about a 3rd-round pick in 2021 that not a lot of people even had on their radar coming into spring training.
Under slot guy. He was kind of a money-saving move.
And he had a very good year last year in AAA. I don't have the numbers pulled up, but I think just over 3 ERA, over 3 levels, starting and over 20 starts. He sits in they're kind of similar pitchers. Sits in the low 90s with a couple of plus secondary offerings. These guys have been impressive. And like you said, Alex, nobody is better at judging their own talent than the Atlanta Braves. They've trusted these young guys and it's worked out. And this could be another case. But I think the real story here of all this, as much as we're excited about Shuster and Dodd, is my opening point. Ian Anderson, I'm going to say he's done in Atlanta. I know, listen, like you said, and this might be a little bit of a hot take. I don't even think it's a hot take anymore. I think he is finished in Atlanta. I watched him over spring training, and I mean, he was having trouble throwing 50% strikes. I mean, and the slider was meh. His velocity was down. And listen, he's had some shoulder issues. His season ended early last year because he was shut down with a shoulder issue. I know we were hoping promising things. I kept saying all off season that, yeah, he's going to make the opening day roster. He's going to make the opening roster. He's going to bounce back. We've seen too many good things. To say I'm worried is an understatement. I just think it's over.
Real quick, Bryce Elder, we're not worried about, and they both got sent down. So I think it's not – he's been terrible, but it's not as big of an indictment on them two as it is showing how good Shuster and Dodd have been. We could be concerned, but they've just been great.